Disturbiamo, ciao, ciao. La fate qua la presentazione.
You have to be very simple. You have to be prepared. It's a beautiful. Now this one has a movement that can take in. Which the 38 can go through storms, and everybody. The sequence. And okay, we plan this with sure.
I would start in a few years.
I want, it's my great friend, Paolo Bruni, and that's Riccardo Gabattini. This is the man who started now to Swan, Pekka Koskenkyla. You have to go like this.
And may I thank you because we had many years of pleasure.
21 years. Right. Done military.
Well, I know this book very well.
Che rispondo in modo inappropriato.
Ok, ecco.
Una risalita per mangiare qualcosa, vedo Miss Matteo, il giorno 2
Allora,
direttamente dalla
Ciao, come stai? Ciao, bene, bene.
finalmente anche a Milano.
Io però è un testo un po' diverso da quello a cui siamo abituati.
Però tutti valenti.
Dentro.
Oggi sento. E poi da un po' che non ci incontriamo.
Una coppia bianca, una coppia
Sì,
allora metto sì. L'aveva promessa Matteo.
grazie mille. Grazie.
I see a lot of old friends, new friends, and I would say all of you, all of us, Sparkman&Stephens, Swan, addict. So thank you very much for coming so numerous. Before introducing you to Juan Corradi and Pekka Koskenkyla, I would like to say you just a few words about how this book started. It all started in 2006, so it just took me about 10 years, very, very, very quick, when after a very long friendship with Stephens, whom I met many times in America, in Italy, with whom I had the honor and pleasure to race on board Doré with Stephens at the helm and actually Michneff at the tactic, which is something I'll never forget in my life. And in some way I decided I wanted to publish a book because I wanted to share the knowledge I had on this incredible boats to share with more people. So I went many times to New York to the Sparkman&Stephens office, where I've been given permission to look on the archives, and where SNS allowed me to publish the lines, which, as far as I know, are published in this book all together for the first time. And say plans, deck plans, general arrangements, and then the same thing I did with Nauto, which I visited with a fantastic friend, Lars, Strom, who took me around among the old shops, the very first premises where builders built and laminated the first Swans. And so in 2015 I decided it was time to go to the printing shop, and so in order to have the book ready for 2016, which is, as I think you know, the 50th anniversary of NATO. So the book is, here you are, the book is ready, is finally ready, and we dedicated the book to Stefano, who's been my brotherly friend, and has been with me since the beginning of the association. And so the book has been done with an incredible team of contributors. Lars, Strom, Pekka, Koskenkyla, Juan, Corradi, Leif, Ramm-Schmidt, Matti, Waris, Luca Ferron, and many photographers who gave us a lot of beautiful images of SNS Swan sailing, racing, and cruising. And all of them contributed on a complementary basis. Last but not least, I want to tell you this book is not a commercial project, and once the cost of the book, of the printing, has been covered, every single penny we eventually get, we hope, will go to charity. So now I would like to give the word to Juan Corradi, who's been a Sparkman&Stephens Swan owner for 21 years, and who raced and crossed the Atlantic I don't know how many times, maybe too much. Anyway, thank you very much. Juan.
Well, thank you. Well, it's my pleasure to be invited here and to the honor of having this wonderful company, including the man who started this all, who will speak afterwards. And I prepared a little text so, you know, so that I wouldn't become too embarrassed to improvise. And it's not long, so I will present it here. And because I didn't know the audience, I start a little bit in Italian, which is a bad Italian, and then continue with I'm Argentinian, with bad English. Prima di tutto vorrei ringraziare Matteo, Salamon, non solo per aver prodotto questo bel libro, ma soprattutto per aver fondato, insieme a Stefano Cioni, la Classic Swan Association, e così mantenere viva per anni la fiamma della leggenda e della realtà di queste barche uniche in un periodo d'oro della barca a vela. Gli SNS Swans non sono barche d'epoca, ma sono barche classiche. Mi sono sempre fatto perché gli SNS Swan sono classici. And now I switch. First of all, I wanted to thank Matteo, Salamon, not only for writing and producing this beautiful volume, but above all for organizing, together with Stefano Cioni, the SNS Swan Association for many years, and thus for keeping alive the flame of the legend and the reality of those unique boats from a golden period of yacht sailing in both design and construction. They are not traditional boats, but they are classic boats. I have always asked myself, why are these magnificent yachts classic? For an answer, since we are in Italy, I'd like to follow Italo Calvino's reflections on classic books, and I will shamelessly extrapolate from him. He wrote a beautiful volume which was entitled in '91, Perché leggere I classici? Now, why sail classic boats? That's what I'm following him for. To sail these great boats is an extraordinary pleasure, different from, though one cannot say greater or lesser than, the pleasure of sailing other boats. We use the word classic for boats that are treasured by those who have sailed and loved them, but they are treasured no less by those who have the luck to sail them for the first time in the best conditions to enjoy them. Classic boats are boats that exert a peculiar influence in the history of yachting and refuse to be eradicated from the mind. Every sailing on a classic Swan is a voyage of discovery as much as sailing on them for the first time. And so we can say that a classic boat is a boat that has never finished giving what it has to give, that is giving us fresh experience time and again. Classic yachts are the yachts that come down to us, bearing the traces of sailings previous to ours, and bringing in their wake the traces they themselves have left on the lives they have passed through. Olin and Rod Stevens on board and on the drafting board, the SNS team on Madison Avenue and on the New Jersey testing tank, Mitch Neff at the SNS brokerage, the now-tour founder, Pekka Koskenkyla, who honors us today with his presence, the workers and staff of the famous yard, notably Lars Strom, who is still our technical and emeritus Swan professor, Ramon Carlin on Sayula and the first whitebait race, King Olaf of Norway and his Swan 38, and so many more. Their lives and achievements, countless racing wins and great cruises, continue to be reincarnated right down to our own day. Sailing one of these boats ought to give us a surprise or two vis-à-vis the notion that we had of them. For this reason, we can never sufficiently highly recommend the direct sailing of an SNS Swan. So the book that is being presented today is more than a technical interpretation, although the book is unique in these and a recollection. It is an invitation to take to the sea on these boats. These boats do not necessarily teach us anything we did not know before, but they are associated with our knowledge in a special way. In them we discover an origin, a relationship, an affinity in both design and performance, and this is a surprise that gives a lot of pleasure. When we sail on them, we find even fresher, more unexpected and more marvelous things than we had thought from hearing about them, and the world has heard a lot about them. A classic boat really works as such when it establishes a personal rapport with the sailor. We sail them not out of respect or pretense, only out of love. I can testify to this special rapport with a classic Swan pirate, hull 19 of the 116 Swan 38. Collection of all the designs of the Sparkman&Stephens Swans, 15 of them, and they're wonderful drawings, but in a chronological series by the years of when they were produced. After that, within that second central section, comes something that again took a lot of time, which is this time a list of the boats by length, the number of each design produced, and as many as he could find, and there are most, of the original names of all the boats. And this includes 824 boats that were produced under the regime of the Sparkman&Stephens Swan. And this is fantastic. It is really very good. And now I won't bother you with more blah blah. The third section is a technical one. That is a jewel. It is a jewel because it has all the technical aspects and every detail of the way these boats are unique. And they're unique in a very special way, down to the minutest detail. And that is what makes them classic, at least we discussed this with Lars Strom, because no other boats have this. The quality, the invention of the yard, the thinking that goes into everything that is in one of these boats. And it takes a long time and a lot of stupid mistakes, I can testify to that, to finally realize why something is the way it is on board of these boats. They're unique, they are thought out thoroughly down to their innermost parts. All three parts of the book are therefore wonderful, they're unique, they are interesting for the curious outsider all the way to the technical fan of these boats. And this is what makes, I hope, the book an enjoyable experience. I hope the tradition will continue. These boats are still sailing in wonderful ways, and Matteo is very much involved in keeping them together, competing, and all of that. And the legend, like all legends, goes on. So without further ado, I thank you very much for these remarks, for your patience in listening to these remarks. And I pass the microphone to Matteo to introduce Pekka Koskenkyla.
The reason why we are here tonight is the founder of Nautro. So I'll give the word to Pekka Koskenkyla.
Okay, now when Matteo asked me to come here and talk about the past 50 years, and particularly the beginning of Nautilus when I was still there. So I thought that, well, this has been told so many times, it's been written in so many magazines, that I will try to find something which is new, which you probably not have heard. And that is, it just didn't happen by itself that I went and one day started an outdoor. No, there was a time, a few years before that, there was a time when I, I got gradually the idea of starting to build boats. And actually, it started quite young. I was, I'm originally from Helsinki, but I moved to Pietarsaari, and there I found a place where I could build a boat, which was my dream. And I wanted to have what was then considered a very big boat, 11 meters long, 37 feet, 36 feet. And so I thought, well, I didn't know much about boating, I didn't know much about the designers, I don't, if I had known, I would probably never have dared to do what I did. So I thought, well, okay, I'll design one for myself, because I didn't know where to go to have it designed. Besides, I didn't have the money to spend for a design. So I started looking at magazines, boating magazines, and I thought, well, I like that, and I like this. And then I sort of had in my mind the whole, I started from the interior. Because I'm not a naval architect, I could not do the other way around. I thought, well, this is what I want to have inside the boat. So, and then when I had that done, I sort of more or less did guesswork of what the house should look like, because I was looking at boats and I saw the shape more or less. And then there happened to be a mathematics teacher in the school in Pietarsaari who had a hobby that he studied to be a naval architect. And he just bought books about it and did self-study. So I heard about him, and I said, well, now you can do the hull for this. This is the interior what I want, and you can do the exterior hull, and then you can do all the mathematical calculations of displacement and all that, the total weight and all that. So, fine, and he did that more or less for nothing, because that was for just a practice, and he had, they had no name, nothing. So, then I started to build this boat out of wood, of course, because that was the only material at that time. I was about 25 years old at the time, and I was not. I was full of self-confidence that I can finish the boat, because in fact I had an experience where I had built boats when I was 15 years old. That was after school, and then weekends, I built 6 canoes out of plywood. And then during the winter, and I sold them in May, June, and made a big profit. I thought, at least for a 15-year-old, it seemed like a lot of money. So I thought, well, I am an experienced boat builder, so I can do that. And so that's how I started. And then the boat was almost finished when I found a client who bought it. It was a dentist in Helsinki. He bought it, and he paid also more than I had figured I could get for it. And so I made a big profit on that boat too. And then I thought, well, this is easy. Boat building business is easy. And it was much easier than it is today. So anyways, then I thought, well, now I have to, I had learned enough that I thought that, well, this was not the right way to do it. The right way is to have the best designer in the world who has the name recognition. And then I can sell the boats even at a higher price. So I went to the local yacht club and asked, who is the best designer in the world? And I got the same answer no matter how many times I asked. It's Sparkman&Stephens in New York. And there were, in fact, 2 or 3 boats, their design being built out of wood, of course, in Finland at the time. And so Rod Stevens would come over to Finland every now and then to inspect the work and these boats of his. And then, finally I sent him a letter. I didn't even have a company name. I didn't have Nautro, didn't exist. So I just sent a personal letter signed with my name, and I said that this is my plan, that would they be interested in designing a boat for me. I wanted, a 36-footer, which was about the same size that I had already built. And so he didn't answer as quickly as I had expected, because after all, I was in a hurry and I made a proposition. I thought, well, what kind of a person doesn't answer phones? I mean, doesn't answer letters. So I phoned him and said, what is this? I wrote, did you get the letter, or was it missing in the mail? No, I got the letter, I remember it, but I'm just planning to my trip, and I was thinking that once I have my plans clear, I will then know which day I will be in Helsinki, so then you can come and see me, and then we can talk about it. And so that's how I started. That's how I started the business, and the first Swan that was built, he had the drawings of a French boat, a French-owned boat. It was a 36-footer called Castet, and he said, here's the drawings of this boat. This is not a brand new design, but it's something that we have modified. We have made an important modification to that. We have separated the rudder from the keel. And this is going to be a very important advantage for this design. And I'm offering it to you if you accept that, if you don't. And then I don't have to charge you so much, because then we're using the old drawing. I said, okay, that suits me fine, because I didn't have the money anyway. So that's how it is. Then, however, when I did receive the drawings, interior was like a racing boat. It had nothing but a few bunks in it. So I thought, well, that's not for me. That's not the kind. For me, interior is the most important thing. Although not the performance. And so I looked at the magazines again, the yachting magazines, and I thought, well, that's a good idea. I'll take that idea, I'll take that idea from here, that from there. And I made an interior drawing to fit into that boat. By that time I had enough knowledge that I could do it more or less realistically. I knew it would fit in the boat. I knew the shape of the hull and so forth. So but I was scared to say that to SNS people, because I thought that they are going to say, okay, it's not our boat anymore, you stop building it. So I made the molds and everything, and then when I had the first hull was molded, that's when he came in for the first visit. And then I just said, by the way, I made a little modifications to the interior. It was a completely different thing. It was nothing at the old. So, and then he said, oh, well, okay, no problem. And he didn't pay much attention to that because Olin is a designer. Rod was never a designer. He was a practical man. He was the one that get on the boat and he would test, his preferred place was on top of the mast. And he would just, he would try to break everything on the boat. And if he couldn't break it, then it was good enough. And so he didn't pay much attention to that. And so I continued to build it, and I interpreted that as an approval. But it turned out later when I went to New York to meet Olin, that he also was pretty much easygoing on the interior. He wasn't very much interested in what I had put inside. So he said, okay, no problem. Okay. And then after that, every boat, every new model of Swan, I did the interior proposal. I did the interior proposal to Olin, and then he took that and made a boat. I knew that I was going to make a 37 or a 40 or whatever. Then I would do the interior the way I liked it. And then I would go to Olin with that. I had just big rough sketches and pencil and paper and all this sort of thing. So I have never said this in public because I did not want to compete with Olin, and I didn't want to and I didn't want my name to be involved with the design because I was nobody. They were the kings. They would just, it was marketing-wise would not be very wise to have done, So that was also one reason why they accepted everything that I proposed. So as long as I was still managing director of Auto, I continued to do it that on every boat as I was there. Once I stopped, and my technical director Rupert took over my position, he didn't like me getting involved in drawings anymore. And we had a little fallout. I came to the conclusion that I cannot work because I didn't get much support from anybody, not the agents, nobody. And so I felt that, okay, all right, well then I drifted further and further from Naltor because I was not welcome there anymore. The new guys wanted to do their way. And so this I just wanted to say, and that this is what I have been doing, and all these boats that I have, other than Swans, like let's take the 40-meter Mirabella that I organized. I set up a yard in Thailand, and I built a 40-meter boat, which is still not as big, which is bigger than the biggest Swan is. 25 years later. So that was at the time the biggest sloop, the tallest mast in the world. And we did that in Thailand, and we got a lot of prizes at the Monaco show and best boat prizes and one thing or another. And we built several of those, 3 of those. That was the same thing. I did the whole thing, and then I went to Bruce Farr and said, here is the design. Now I want you to do the calculations, and that's it. And he agreed. And then I said, oh yeah, but as a carrot, I said, look, if you agree, then you are going to be the officially designer. I am not going to be mentioned anywhere near. So I gave him the honor of being the designer of that. So I'm just saying that this is what I have. I have, in fact, I have continued that. I've done that many, many times. I've built the many boats that have been built after I left Auto, that way. And recently, I've not just now, I finished the drawing of a 102-foot boat, sailing boat. And that is a very different boat. That is, very different. Let's put it this way. It does look like a classic Swan almost from the outside, but it's very difficult in many ways. And so I'm still doing it, and now I'm at the stage where I'm negotiating with a couple of yards, because Leonardo Ferragamo didn't even want to look at my drawings. So you know, I said, well, all right, it's too bad, because I really wanted to do that with Nautor in mind, because that's my baby. I still feel, and I would like for Nautor to be successful. But I can't do much more. So if he doesn't want to see it, well, then there are other yards that are looking at it now. So we'll see if I can get that project on the ground. You will hear about that if it happens. Okay, thank you.
Before going to the prize giving, which we have to do, then we can have a drink all together, I would like to say two things. The first one is we have, unfortunately, Olin and Rod Stephens couldn't be with us, but we are lucky enough to have the new CEO of Sparkman&Stephens, Brooke Parrish, who has flown from New York just to be with us, and I hope he would like to say a few words in representation of Sparkman&Stephens. Brooke.
Thank you, and on behalf of my colleague Brendan Abbott, who is the chief designer of Sparkman&Stephens, who is also here with us this evening, I'd like to thank all of you for coming out. There's obviously a very special bond between Sparkman&Stephens and Swan boat owners. Sparkman&Stephens has designed many boats for many builders over the years, but none as special and as prolific and as beloved as Swan. So it's very meaningful for us and very special for us to be a part of this celebration. And I want to thank both Juan and Matteo for providing us the invitation, and I look forward to seeing all of you out on the water, hopefully either in the US or in Europe. So thank you very much.
One last thing. In working on this book, I've been supported, and I say supported, by someone who had the patience, was patient enough to be at my side for all these years. So I would like to thank Julia. During the Swan Cup, we had a special trophy, which was, for us, it was the trophy for our class of 35 SNS Swan, which was dedicated to Stefano Cioni, the Stefano Cioni Corinthian Trophy. This prize has been won by Nick Milan on his beautiful Swan 44 Rossi Pelican, who raced incredibly well with probably the most beautiful SNS Swan of the fleet. And Valeria Cioni will award Nicholas.
There it is.
Shall we have a drink? Sorry. Lars Strom sent a letter. Wow. So,
thank you. My name is Koskenkyla. I'm from Finland. And my friend Lars asked me to bring a letter to Matteo, and he asked me also to read it. And also Daniele de Juan. Sparkman&Stephens Swan, legend. Dear Matteo, it has been so long since you first came out of the great idea to put together a book about the Sparkman&Stephens swans, that meanwhile these glorious swans have become even more obvious and classic. Now you have done it, and the result is probably even better than you expected at the time, 10 years ago or so. This book will be unique, not only because the information in it is unique, but also as the book is a unique piece of art, since you made it. So, relying on your long-standing experience in visual arts. The book came together with the help from many people, and the list of contributors is remarkably long, with people from many nations and representing many professions. Only you know how many there really are. Some readers may find it surprising that American English is used for the text of a book published in Italy about yachts constructed in Finland. Only a few contributors' mother language is American English, and this called for the assistance of a professional editor. But there is also a firm rationale. The Sparkman&Stephens original documents, which are one of the most interesting parts of the book, are indeed in American English. This book may even be useful as a reference for yachting terminology in American English. This is partly a very technical book, but only a few terms needed to be explained to the American editor whose background was humanistic. We find this remarkable, and all kinds of readers should then be able to understand the technical information well and use it for improving their beloved SS yachts. It will not be a surprise if the information in this book is useful also for owners of other yachts interested of well-proven Sparkman&Stephens solutions. This may lead to unexpected consequences in the demand for the book, and we advise you, dear Matteo, to keep the passwords of the electronic files and the original printing plates in your secure place. Dear Matteo, we are sorry we were not able to be at the official presentation today, but we are very grateful for what you accomplished and would like to thank you for your initiative and in particular for the possibility to contribute to this book. We consider it an honor. Daniele and Lars. P.S. We would have loved to print this letter on a genuine Bergamat paper, but we had to be content with the Fabriano Artistico available here in the Baltic area. And also, I was asked to bring you greetings from the Finnish Sparkman&Stephens Association.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Lasci via, siamo pronti al colpo di stato nautico.
Let's have a drink.
Okay.
I hope they do have a quote. No, that's for me.
We didn't understand who is the author of this.
Lars, the professor, is the person who, he is the person who knows the swans better in the world. So it's a fantastic lecture.
Okay. Bravo.
To the bar.
Thank you very much.
Bravo Matteo.
La cortesia di fare una foto con questo signore.